I'm going to read one, which is fun. This one takes some explanation. It's a variation on a W.B. Yeats poem called An Irish Airman Foresees His Death, and it's called An Irish Coal Miner Foresees His Death. I know, steeped and stinking between cheap sheets of night, that I shall meet my end, bleeding a roiling slick, neath a callous life so black, no lie it e'er come it clean. I hang my tag, past Kit the Ken, neath names so equally Hibernian. Connolly, Dunn, Clark, and Healy. Steely hard chaws all, eyes set and candled, down with the Barney pulling coke their whole lives, only to never brass out. For be it dust or blows, burns or fallen roofs, we all leave black and broken. Only our hanging tags for holding. This poem, I just wrote last night. I totally wrote it last night. And this poem is about a friend of mine.
Me?
It's called The General. Standing at the head of the battlefield, he looked to me to be a hooker twice over. Hooker, not whore, a body wrought to be paid, sent to spit, scream, and stay in our hearts and our minds, and so we call him the General. Laid wasted before us, he strips us down, makes marks upon us with teeth and tongue, scarred hands and eyes, laying waste to all within. His word touches bright in our minds till we burn like so many white mod cannonades, waiting to burst our souls into supernovas at his command. Here, beyond the dawn, he stalks before us, lying, preaching to lambs, ripping rhymes from ragged bellies too tender to know what guts lie beneath. And so we roar at his fire, and we sing with his shadows. We weep for his sorrows until his voice falls silent, and this scorched earth leaps up before us, a cacophony of hands and hearts telling us that this is our moment to burn. And with a silent prayer to his glorious beard, his banner on our backs, mouth teeming with borrowed tips before the whole of our glorious procession, we stand alone at last, and we whisper, spit and scream all that burns before us. And as we break upon them, their licked lips and 10,000 drunken swirling tongues fall silent and behold us in all our glory, slam poets making war. After, as I marvel at my newfound gears of war, my syllable streaked claws and maniac meter, through the haze of victory I see, he did not make me this rude mechanical, did not dream of this avalanche or forge this frenzied might. He merely made us sweat out every syllable and come to know our own words, intimate as the hum of new machinery, so we could learn ourselves into weapon. He taught us the mathematics of this fight. And so he's just a slam poet, but we call him the General, and I'll follow him wherever I go.
I'll follow you.
I had a poem published recently. Yeah, it's pretty neat. And I have a person in the room named Booker who would very much understand this poem because we grew up together. So, for your enjoyment, I'm going to read once again 66554. 1. Geography. A degree of silence I still speak of fondly. A single car 2 miles off, popping, rustling, a veritable ruckus if the wind stood still enough. Many midnights I stood upon a high hill, alone above wide wheat acres, and heard coyotes kill more clearly a mile off than my own thoughts come to me here. 2. Population breakdown. Population 312, 15-mile radius. Decent white folk, 70%. Wetbacks, 24%. Includes brown folk of indeterminate race. Blacks, plus or minus 2%. They never last long here, you know. Indecent white folk, 12%. Halfies, hippies, trash, etc. I spent my formative years among the good, righteous, pure as a driven snow, white-bread folk of the world, thanking white Jesus every day that my mother was pale enough to bleed the brown out of my father's skin, giving me that most blessed right to check that most crucial box, white, comma, Caucasian. 3. Employment. Thumb-sticking purpled farm folk pulling thin livings from hogs, hens, heads of beef. Palms black, slivered with silver mechanics, maybe Votech, maybe Army, maybe just 20 years pulling wrenches inside their daddy. From these men and women, hard as January topsoil, I learned what the word proletariat meant, long before a young, sarcastic man in a tweed jacket told me that Americans have no concept of working hard. Greasy spoons abound, barely legal teens shuffled in evenly with broke-breasted wrecks of womanhood, slinging hash and bacon, coffee, black, and chicken fried steak, all the fine cuisine of 66554. You see their young eyes go wide when one of those smoke-belching behemoths spits up black, but in the same breath wheezes, "When I was your age, honey, I looked just like you." 4. Religion. Shoulder to thick shoulder, the gray faces of blue-collared, brown-collared, no-collared at all, chapped hands folded in pensive praise. Methodists, Lutherans, supposed all-faith evangelicals, a Catholic here or there, when they dared show their face. I lived and breathed the dry, desiccated dogma of Midwestern Christianity, more moaning than rejoicing. And each Sunday, sipping bitter juice from a plastic thimble, I remembered my youth as a Southern Baptist, one of 10 white faces in our church, a church in the decidedly more foreign, bitter racial territory of North Florida. But no gray faces were there. Instead, black, brown, buttercream, and burnt umber were the colors of my religious youth. And way up front, behind the pulpit, my happy father rained down fire and love, faith and brimstone, filling us bursting with passion for our life of poverty. God damn, do I miss that beautiful sound.
Amen!
Mouths open, heads back, hands up and heaving, lifting a truly joyful noise to their Father. 20 years later, my father makes no beautiful noise, having lost his God along twin decades of tragedy, shame, grifted by a failing, corrupt, mortal coil. I never believed in God, not once, but I sure as hell believed in my daddy. 66554. I take it with me wherever I go. It slips into my speech, my ways when I'm careless or drunk. It reflects and bends and shapes everything that I see, everyone that I love. It persists, it confounds, and yet as hard as I kick it, as many times as I spit upon its memory, sully its treasures by only speaking of its faults, it's still part of me. Hell, it is me. All the flaws and fantastic, ripped raw breaths of this hard, gorgeous life. And as much as I correct my tongue, as many paintings as I view, all the hours poring over exotic and learned highfalutin lore, I still find myself thumbing through to the nitty-gritty dirt band, frying up some chicken gizzards with gravy, not ranch, and missing my front porch where all the world could be listened to in the absence of mankind's crude rumbling rushes. 66554. It's the home behind my eyes.